Well, good afternoon, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Steve and Angela Collins coming to you from a beautiful place, the second most powerful, passionate, purposeful coach and speaker
in the world.
In the world. Hope you guys are fired up and ready to go today. We did an earlier transmission, and for the first time in 2 years of me doing a daily live video, it did not show up on Facebook. Like, totally didn't take. And we know that this is going to be a powerful message when crazy stuff like that happens. So here's what we are prepared to do. Angela is going to open, and I'm going to wrap this up. So buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be good. Overcoming anxiety. Angela?
So this is just a little bit of sharing a piece of my heart, Steve's heart, into our experience with how we've been able to overcome anxiety.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Did it just...
Who knows?
So you might be getting 2 videos. I think one just uploaded, and you'll get another one, because I didn't say anything in the other one. So anyways, this is just a piece of our heart about how to overcome that anxiety. I've been kind of like a guinea pig, in a sense, is the best way to put it. I have in the past struggled, and it's been a journey for me, continued to struggle with anxiety. I'll get victory, go for a while, and then need to go back to square one, and I guess plug in those tools to overcome anxiety.
Like
because
it's a regular, ongoing thing. You don't ever arrive.
Journey.
It's like not getting a degree where you go, okay, I'm degreed, I'm done. No, dealing with these types of experiences is something you continually apply effort towards.
And some people might struggle with different things. This is just talking about this specific subject in anxiety, and we're not trying to dismiss people who truly have, whether it's a clinical diagnosis or anything like that. You know, whenever I get overcome with that feeling, the heart starts racing, I get shortness of breath. So for me, it feels like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna pass out. It just feels crazy or dizzy. Those are the feelings that I experience. So we decided to rename them, and we are renaming them Pre-Faith. Whenever I experience that, rather than feeling overwhelmed,
or saying
it's something, I'm not going to choose to attach that negative word to myself, because what my mind is hearing, my body's going to respond to. So it's simply been, for me personally, is just responding to a different word. So some of the words that I'm choosing to respond to, rather than overwhelmed, is I'm excited, I'm blessed for this opportunity to be able to do X, Y, Z. So as a busy mom, it's rather than it's summertime, my children are all home from school, and I'm overwhelmed with what to do, or overwhelmed with how to run the family, because different seasons require different things, is I'm excited for this opportunity. I get extra time with my beautiful children, etc., etc.
I love it. I appreciate that. So let's just go back to that real quickly and just say, we know there are chemical issues, we know there are hormonal issues, and it's not our heart to dismiss that, because we know there are folks that deal with it. What I'm talking about is your garden variety experience, and here's what I mean by that. I put a video out a couple of weeks ago when someone had mentioned to me one time, I'm really scared to death about this. Well, your body, as Angela mentioned, responds to the words that you use and what you speak. So when we have a physical experience, I say break it down to the physical. What is going on with you physically? Because you chose to name it being scared to death. What's going on physically? Well, you know, the shortness of breath, feeling a little bit dizzy, heart beating, palms sweaty, spaghetti on my, no, dog Eminem just keeps coming in. You feel something. And so you get to choose what you're going to name that. If it's a disempowering thing that comes from just being raised a certain way or just being familiar with the word, your body will respond if you say, I'm having a panic attack, or I'm having anxiety, or I'm really ticked off about that. You get to choose what you're going to call that. See, so in a video I did earlier, I said, let's call what you are now calling fear, let's call that pre-faith activation. That's the moment of time that your body knows you're about to make a decision by faith. You know, faith and fear are the same thing. They're believing that something is going to happen that hasn't happened yet. Fear believes the worst. Faith believes the best. Fear and worry are like interest paid in advance on something you may never own. Think about that. Fear and worry are like interest paid in advance on something you may never own. Imagine paying the interest on a $500,000 home loan that you're never going to live in. Why would you do that? So think about this. We choose to rename that experience to say that is a pre-faith activation. That's Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, passing the final test, standing at the chasm with the 100,000-foot drop beneath him, sticking his leg out to move forward. That is that feeling. And you can choose to call it what you choose to call it. If you call it a panic attack, your body's going to respond to that. Your mind's going to flip out. It's like, oh my gosh, he says we're in a panic. She says we're in a panic. If it's anxiety, your body's going to say, oh my gosh, we're freaking out. You don't have to call it what you've been calling it your whole life. You can call it something else. So this morning on Overcoming Anxiety, here's what we do. People don't flip out when they hear a quote from Jim Rohn, or when they hear a quote from Zig Ziglar, or when they hear a quote from Tony Robbins, or Gary Vaynerchuk, or any of the folks that are out there with these quotes about business and life. But some people get their panties in a bunch when they hear a quote from a guy named Paul or a guy named Jesus. Those are my favorite quotes. So there's a quote in the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7 that says this: don't be anxious for anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And then the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. Let me say that again. Think about this. Think about this. He says, be not anxious for anything, but in all things, through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving in your heart, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, not the peace you get when your bills are paid, not the peace you get when you're getting along with everybody, not the peace you get when your ducks are in a row, not the peace you get when everything is running smooth. No. Everybody has that peace. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, it don't make no sense how you could have peace in that circumstance, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So rather than saying, I'm suffering from anxiety, I'm going to encourage you to say, this is my pre-prayer feeling. I'm getting that feeling I get when I know it's time for me to pray and give thanksgiving. And just thank Him. Thank you. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my life. Thank you for waking up today. Thank you that I have a telephone to watch this on. Thank you that I have a car to drive. Thank you that I have a job to do. Whatever it is. That has been the key factor for Angela and I. So remember this. There's no meaning to anything except the meaning you attach to it. And your body listens to what your mouth says. Angela?
And also, with this being a process and a journey, you need to think about what have you been watering, what have you been nurturing. If you've been nurturing that negative thing, that negative...
Sorry about that. I had a phone call.
If you've been watering that particular whatever thought, affirmation, negative affirmation that you've been watering, that thing has power in you, and you have to pull it up root by root. You have to break agreement with those thoughts. Whenever it's coming in, you need to replace it with something else, and that's what takes time. That's where the process comes in. You need to start watering the new thought that you want to be birthed in you and bring life, because the other one's pretty much bringing, bottom line, it's designed to bring death and destruction. That's just bottom line. And so when you start watering the life in you, it takes little by little. It's little by little. Think of it just as a little seed that's being planted in your spirit. And day by day, it gets a little easier. You're uprooting the old stuff. You're planting in new things. So it is a journey, and that's what I've come to love. It's part of the journey.
That's right. Yeah. For years, we argued over the fact that I'm an event guy. I see stuff happen immediately, and she's a process person. And that was in conflict for a long time because I'm, no, it can happen in a day, in a moment, and boom. And she's like, no, it takes a process. And I'm just like, no, it doesn't have to. And we've come to realize that it's a little of both. You can have an event, which is the day you decide, which you've heard of suicide, homicide, genocide. That's killing off. Decide means I am killing off all other options, and I'm doing this. That's a decision. When you decide, you cut off, kill off everything else. That can be the event. Now the process. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. That's the decision. The process is going to the gym. I'm going to succeed in my business. That's the decision. The process is lead generating every day. I am going to rename this physical feeling that I've called something that has been robbing me of joy and relationships and a full life. I'm going to call it something else. I'm deciding today. And then there's what Angela mentioned, the process. working it out. Guys, we don't want to just cut the leaves and the branches off of the things that are stealing from you. We want to rip out the roots so that you can have true freedom, true life, and true abundance. Anything else you want to wrap up with, hon? That's it? Okay, guys, let me encourage you. Read Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 7, and never forget that. Remember that. Be anxious for nothing, but in all things, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind in Christ. Have a great day, guys.